So I'm sure if you guys have been paying attention to all of the coverage around Jedi Survivor, both on this channel as well as all the other creators out there covering the game, you'll know that there is a lot of stuff in this game. There's a lot of things to do, there's a lot of things to unlock, different ways to play and all that sort of stuff. And because of that, I think a lot of information has actually kind of slipped through the cracks, purely because there's almost information overload. There's so much stuff to take in. And so today I wanted to go over 10 things you can do in this game that you may have actually missed. These are all more on this like smaller side of things that are all really awesome additions to the game, but they're nothing like crazy because all the main topics everyone will already know about, stuff like the stances and all the different skill trees and stuff like that. But these are more just like little things that are still pretty awesome on their own that you guys may have actually missed in all the coverage. Now, if you guys are new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications. We're not too far from launch now, and obviously after launch there will be potentially even more content per week on the channel. I'm going to be doing every type of video you guys can imagine, how to unlock stuff, how to beat certain bosses, all those sorts of videos. So be sure to hit that subscribe button if you're not subbed already. But with that being said, let's get stuck into 10 awesome things you guys can do in Survivor. Now, the first thing I wanted to mention is something that we've actually seen technically in some of the gameplay. I think it was the IGN gameplay, and this is these little roller mines. Now, at face value, they just look like an enemy because in these clips here we have no context to what they are. They just look like they kind of attack us, and Cal pretty much throws them at the enemies and they explode. So we didn't really know what these are, but having played the game at the early preview event, I can confirm that these are in a way enemies, but they're actually also like a crucial piece to a lot of puzzles that are out there in the world. Now, how these things work is that when you get within a certain proximity of them, they will essentially like lock onto you, and you can see that by the little like laser sight sort of thing that is attached to you, and the color of it will sort of indicate how close they are to you and how much danger you're in, because if they do get close to you, they will explode. Now, the thing is that when they are sort of locked onto you like that, they'll essentially follow you anywhere that you go. If you sprint, you can outrun them, so they're not too hard to get away from. But if you're not sprinting and you just kind of like walk along, they will actually be able to keep up with you, and you can actually sort of drag them to anywhere on the map that you want. Now, unfortunately, they don't have any gameplay from all the stuff they gave us that shows what I'm talking about here, but what you can do is pretty much lure these things to certain areas on the map. You can then just use Cal's force pool to actually pick them up and then throw them at an area. And there's certain areas on Koboh, and I'm sure there'll be the same thing on a lot of other planets, where you can pretty much just blow up certain things to get into a different area of the map, or maybe unlock like a wall run that allows you to get to a certain area you couldn't get to. And so these things are almost like a permanent puzzle piece on the planet at all times. They just spawn in certain areas and you can literally drag them. There was one point in the actual playtest where I literally had these things following me for like probably 5 to 10 minutes. I tried to get them as far as I could to the other side of the planet, and they literally followed me everywhere that they could go. So there's going to be a lot of awesome little things you can do with these, and they're almost like a constant puzzle piece within the world that if you see these, you might be able to go, okay, where can I take them and what can I actually unlock? And I think it's going to lead to some very awesome collectible items. Now, the next one is much smaller. That first one was a lot of information to take in. The next one, and probably most of these, are going to be a lot smaller. But something else that's awesome is that in the lightsaber customization tab, you can actually have like a weather effect on your lightsaber. And by weather effect, I essentially mean you can have it perfectly clean and shiny, or you can have it sort of to the point where it looks like it's been buried in the dirt for 20 years and everything in between. So obviously in the first game you could really only just choose which parts you had for the saber, but now not only can you choose the actual elements to the saber, you can actually change the effect on them to make them clean or super dirty, and it's definitely an awesome little addition to that customization. Now, next on the list is something to do with the mounts. We all know that now you can essentially ride certain beasts within the game, but something they can actually allow you to do is to jump to certain places that you couldn't otherwise get to. Now, this is something that I didn't know before I'd actually tried it out, but you can even see in some of these bits of gameplay here, they kind of give you like this super double jump where you jump on the mount, but then as the mount and Cal are both in midair, you can kind of jump off the mount and you'll get higher than you obviously would be able to if you were just jumping as Cal. So this is going to lead to a lot of awesome little hidden areas and potentially puzzle rooms and collectible items and stuff like that. So if you ever see anywhere while you're roaming around the map that looks like it leads somewhere but you just definitely can't get that high, jump on a mount, run up and do the sort of mount jump thing, and you will be able to get to that area. Now, something else that is absolutely awesome, and shout out to my boy Twisted. If you guys aren't subscribed subscribed to the Twisted Jedi, be sure to head to the link in the description and sub to my man Twisted. But he actually mentioned, I didn't know this myself, but he mentioned that you can actually slow the game down in the settings. And I'm talking like fully slow the entire game down to the point where if you struggle with motion sickness, which I actually know a lot of people who can't play certain games because they have motion sickness, this is going to reduce that for you guys. And a lot of people may now be able to play this game when they otherwise wouldn't be able to. So not only is that cool for motion sickness, but even potentially if you're really struggling with a certain boss, for example, you can actually slow the game down to where everything is just slower and maybe you have more time to react to those enemy attacks and stuff like that. And I think that is actually an awesome addition for like accessibility within Jedi Survivor. Now, something else awesome you can do is actually find sort of hidden little training missions, I guess you would say, hidden around the map. The one you guys can see here, if you actually find a waterfall, and I think it's the same waterfall where you fight this crazy, like, I don't even know, it's like a dinosaur looking creature. I think at that same waterfall, if you go behind that, you can actually get to this area, and it does like essentially like a little parkour obstacle course type of thing, and it's got a timer on it, and it pretty much just allows you to do certain training missions, which are not only good to obviously help you get better at the game, but you can also kind of compete with your friends. You can take a screenshot of your time and send that to your mates, see if they can beat you. It's going to be a lot of fun to actually have some little competitions within the game, because obviously it's a single player game. We don't get to really compete against our friends, so this just adds a really cool layer, and some of these look really, really cool too, so I'm keen to see what else there are hidden around each planet. Now, something I have not seen anyone talking about is that these little droids, if you find these around any planet, we only obviously played on Koboh at the early preview, so I don't know if these are on every planet, but if you guys see one of these droids, do not attack them, follow them wherever they want to lead you, because they will lead you to some really good rewards. Now, weirdly, sometimes they seem to lead you like nowhere. I don't know if it's just because maybe you haven't progressed far enough in the story, or you need to unlock a different skill or something, but most of the time I followed these, they would lead me to like this little cave or a little hidden area, and there'd be like maybe an enemy guarding some sort of chest or something like that, where it's just a cool little collectible. So if you guys see these around, don't attack them, just see where they lead you, and I'm sure you guys will find some awesome rewards. Now, something else very fun to do in this game is actually to just kind of listen to the enemies or even friendlies and just hear what they have to say, because obviously in the first game there weren't that many NPCs, but there's definitely a lot more in this game, and even the enemies actually have like conversations between themselves, or in this case, as I'll show you in this clip, it is literally a droid talking to itself.
Got a giant crater? Wow! I got it so easy. Guard the cliff, crush the locals, look at the scenery. Nobody's getting past me, not without a blaster hole in him. I wonder if I'll get promoted for doing such a good job. Then I'll get the other droids to guard the cliff. Oh, but then I won't see the scenery. Now that's a dilemma.
Dilemma solved.
Now, something else very handy, and this was mentioned pretty early on, but I think because the whole gameplay that we saw from IGN was so awesome, a lot of people actually didn't really take notice of this, because to be fair, it's a pretty small element, but we are actually able to place markers on the map now, which is going to make it a lot easier to find your way around each planet. Any of us who have played Fallen Order will know that Zepho was an absolute nightmare trying to find your way back to the Mantis after finishing like the tomb area. Honestly, just doing anything on that planet, it was just hard to find your way back through the Mantis, but now we can place markers on the map to kind of like mark each little area we need to get to, rather than just looking at the map and going, okay, I'm here and I need to get all the way there, but how do I get there? You can actually pretty much map out each point that you need to get to, and it's going to make traveling a lot easier in this game than it was in Fallen Order. Now, something else pretty cool is actually one of the abilities, and I think this is only available when you are using the dual wield stance, but this little thing that we see here, which I actually mentioned in another video and I wasn't sure what it was, this is actually an auto parry feature. So when Cal holds his lightsabers up like this, and it's almost like a standing meditation, when you do that, what that's doing is that the next enemy who attacks you, you will auto parry that enemy, so you don't even have to get the timing right. You literally, I think you just hold triangle or Y depending on what you're playing on. He lifts up his sabers like that, and then the next person who attacks you, you literally just perfect parry them, at which point you can deal obviously a lot of damage while they're not guarding. So that's something I haven't seen people talking about, because even myself, when I saw that, I just didn't know what the hell Cal was doing with those sabers, but it is almost like a little standing meditation, and then any enemy that hits you will pretty much regret that immediately. Now, the 10th thing on this list is a pretty insignificant one, but a pretty fun one at that, and this is that we can finally pet boglings in Jedi Survivor. Now, this is something that in any game, when there are cute little, animals running around the map, we all want to pet them. It's something that's natural. Everyone wants to pet the animals. There are so many games out there you can do it, and finally in this game we are able to do that with the boglings. Now, I don't know if there's other creatures around different planets that we can do this to as well. So we will just have to wait and find out. But I think it's a cool little feature. It doesn't really impact the game at all, to be honest, but it is a cool little feature, and I know even though it's a pretty insignificant thing, let's be honest, we're all going to do it anyway, so it's definitely a very good addition to the game. So that is pretty much it for the 10 awesome things you guys can do in Jedi Survivor that you may not have known about. If you guys did learn something new, definitely let me know down in the comment section. And like I said earlier, if you guys are new to the channel, definitely hit that subscribe button because there is going to be plenty more Jedi Survivor content on the way. Thank you all very much for watching. You guys have a great day, and may the Force be with you always.